Welcome back to Spill the Tea. This is episode 3, and today I am joined by the police chief himself, Henry King. Chief King was hired as Edenton's police chief in May of 2018. He's an 18-year veteran of the Rocky Mount Police Department before joining Edenton Police Department. He graduated from North Carolina Central University with a degree in criminal justice. He joined the U.S. Marine Corps upon graduation, served for 4 years, and was company police sergeant. Chief King was Rocky Mount's first officer next door. He lived in a home that the city purchased in a redevelopment zone and helped transform a distressed neighborhood into a real community. Currently, he serves as president of the North Carolina Association of Chiefs of Police. Chief King is a native of Durham, North Carolina. Chief, welcome. What's up?
Thank you for having me today, Tyler.
So I wanted to, there are a lot of things that we could probably talk about, but the first thing I really wanted to get into was these new officers that we've sworn in. I know there'll be some changing in the rank and file. We're going to have Captain Brown retiring soon. We got 2 new officers coming on. Tell me what's going on over there in terms of personnel changes.
Well, Captain Brown has reached his milestone, and I'm so proud of him to reach that point of his life where he wants to retire and serve the citizens in a different capacity. We're going to miss him. Just like you said, we have a position open. We're taking applications. Mm-hmm. And we just hired some new officers that are coming to Edenton to provide good customer service and become the future of the department.
Right.
I'm so proud of the men that have joined the police department. And for those that are listening, if you have someone that meets the criteria, that is at least 19 and a half years old, we are looking for some great men and women to join the Edenton Police Department. We currently have 3 positions open, and I would love to be able to hire your sons and daughters.
We got quite a few of them that have stuck around for a few years, because I remember down at the ceremony we had a week or 2 ago, some of them have been promoted. Some have been here for a long time, and they've shown that devotion to Edenton. So we definitely like to see that in our officers, giving back to their hometown, or even if they've come from, Officer Romano, he comes from Brooklyn, but he's given us some years already. And so we're happy to have those dedicated men and women on the force serving us here in Edenton. But speaking on, and just briefly, I wanted to touch one more time about Captain Brown leaving. He's been here since you were hired as chief, correct?
Yes, he was here before. Captain Brown came to the town of Edenton in 2012.
So he's been here over 10 years. Mm-hmm. And since you've been chief, what has he helped you do? What has he brought to the table that you'll take away from his tenure?
Oh, Captain Brown has brought a lot to the table. Captain Brown has been the individual that has been the chief when the chief wasn't here.
Right.
And he oversaw the department. He ran the ship. He made sure that the guys and ladies on patrol had the necessary tools that they need to keep the citizens safe. And Captain Brown was very instrumental of making sure that the ship ran and it ran smoothly.
And we will certainly miss Captain Brown when he departs later this year. Going back about a year, I remember this time early last year, I was still at the newspaper at the time. I had not come on with the town yet. But I remember around January, February, we had a few back-to-back shootings here in town. And since then, things have quieted down, not to knock on wood or anything. But what have we done? What steps have we taken with our partners, with the technology that we've implemented, with some of the protocols that we're training our officers? What have we done, these steps that we've taken to curb violent crime here in the community?
The main step, and the step that, Tyler, that I was needing and wanting when I was appointed here in 2018, was to get everybody to the table. Mm-hmm. And we finally got, and I have to give this credit to the town manager, Corey Gooden. I went to him and I said, sir, we need to get the sheriff's office, probation, the federal government, the DA's office, everyone involved, probation, parole, to the table. We have individuals that we have their names. They keep coming up in several investigations. We have to sit down and go after these individuals who are causing chaos in our society. And because of our town manager, Corey Gooden, he helped me coordinate the meeting. And after getting everyone to the table, we found out that some of the same individuals that we're having problems with those individuals in Elizabeth City. Right. Some of their associates in Elizabeth City come to Edenton, Bertie, and vice versa. So it was that partnership with the county, the sheriff's office in Elizabeth City, Paquimans, probation, parole, and mainly our U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of North Carolina, Michael Easley Jr. That set a standard that we meet monthly, and we are going after these individuals, and we are making a big difference in this community. We're taking individuals federal. The DA's office is doing a great job.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that the federal government came in and become the saviors, because some cases are better on the state level than they are on the federal level.
Right.
But however, we finally sat at the table together, and we're working together, which is something that should have been going on a long time ago.
And we've been seeing great progress as a result of those partnerships. Is that right?
Absolutely. We have about 6 individuals now that we're waiting to pick up federal, and we have more to come. And I cannot thank my staff enough for the hard work, the dedication, the great evidence collection, the report writing, and then our town council for giving us the budget to buy the technology that you referred to,
Right.
to add more cameras to town, to add more gunshot sensors to town, to give us the tools, license plate readers, to give us the tool to capture. Now, I do want to say this, Tyler. License plate readers and cameras are expensive.
Right. They are.
But you know, one of the best ways to fight crime is our citizens, which they are doing a good job, but we need more from them to step up and see something, say something. Because when a crime is committed and you see it,
Yeah.
and you come to court and you testify, that's better than any camera surveillance that we could ever have. Having that jury see that eyewitness that said, I saw you, and point to him is a whole lot more powerful statement. When we start having that in our town, it's going to be a force multiplier. And I want to say this last thing. It's very important that business owners work with your staff when they are witnesses to crimes, because so many times the court system is set up this way. It's not a failure. It's set up this way. People have a right to continuance. People have a right to defense attorneys, and those cases get continued. We need business owners to support your employees when they get subpoenaed 5 or 6 times, to still allow them to miss work and go to court to make our community better.
Yeah.
So many times that people get frustrated or they start ducking us because it's the 8th, 9th, 10th time. Let the system play out. It's going to work, but we need you. Without you as a witness or the victim, then these bad guys get off. So I really wanted to put that out there for the community.
And you mentioned the technology, the license plate readers, the cameras. We just recently got a grant for some cameras. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I tasked Ms. Tawana McKeever, the police chief secretary, who oversees the grants. She partnered with the Department of Justice and prepared a grant for $297,000 that allowed us to get 30 cameras and 17 gunshot sensors. And I can not say thank you enough or be more proud of Tawana, who came in, she got the training, she embraced it, and she wrote a grant. And it's the first ever here at the Eaton Police Department for us to get a grant that large from the Department of Justice. And as a chief, I'm just tickled. I mean, I'm proud to say that, that we save taxpayers money.
Oh, yeah.
By getting this grant and making a difference. So again, all the chief did was just find the grant. Tawana did all the hard work.
Yep.
So I just want the citizens to know, when you see Tawana McKeever, please thank her for the hard work that she did by putting this grant together.
Because you and I both know people like to see their tax dollars saved. That's absolutely right. Now, I know that with cases like this, and you mentioned the See Something, Say Something initiative, getting our citizens more involved. One of those things that we've done, especially since you've come on as chief, is expand the social media presence. We've gained thousands of followers on that page, and you've been able to locate suspects fairly quickly using social media. Tell me how powerful that is, that tool.
Well, when I first was appointed, Tyler, I remember the newspaper article gentleman that was Miles. I can't remember what Miles' last name was. Miles Layton.
That's right.
Miles and his wife came to me, and they felt like the police department was not being transparent enough.
Right.
So when I heard that, I said, okay, let me utilize social media, because we're not in the media market. All we have is Joe on Harrow. So I looked at the public record laws and make sure that what I could release, I would release, and I started sharing it. And all of a sudden, it just took off from there. We went from like 300 followers to we're up to like 7,000 followers on Facebook.
Yep.
With your help, we created Instagram.
Yep.
So, and we're just doing a great job. And citizens are doing a great job when we post something. People are telling us who they are. They're helping us identify the people, and people are turning themselves in. I remember when I first started, Miles helped me out with Eaton's Most Wanted, and he ran it in the paper a lot. Well, we had people all the way in Raleigh, when we had it on Facebook, calling and saying, "Take me down. I'm turning myself in."
Man.
So this is the power of social media.
That's great. Yeah. Well, we see that firsthand. I run the town's Facebook and all of those platforms, and you run the PD page. And I remember some of the times you've called me and said within 5 minutes of posting, it's like, man, we got them. Take my face off Facebook. We got them. Because, people, sometimes they don't want to see themselves up there. So they'll call you quick and they'll say, hey, I'm here. Take it down. Talking about the challenges of addressing crime in the community, especially violent crime. Another challenge that comes with, I'm sure, being a police chief is hiring, recruiting, retaining staff, things like that. What's going on in the police world in terms of recruitment, and what are we doing to try to keep our force strong?
Well, I'm constantly sitting down with the town manager because right now recruiting and retention is a major problem in law enforcement in this country. I just conducted an interview just 2 days ago telling the citizens about in North Carolina how Gastonia Police Department they're 30 police officers short, and they town council approved unanimously for a $15,000 signing bonus if you go to Gastonia.
Right.
And that is a good thing, and like I said in the interview, but it's also a bad thing because what we're doing is we're stealing police officers from one another.
Yeah.
So they're leaving for those reasons, and I'm not, I never say anything bad about a police officer leaving to better their family, but they're leaving one community, and then they're leaving that community short because of monetary gains. So, but I was so proud that our council just recently, I think it was 2 years ago, did the pay range, and our starting salary went from like 32 up to like 37.
Yeah.
And we have to find innovative ways to keep our current employees as well as attract new employees. And some of that is maybe looking at housing.
Yeah.
For example, you mentioned the Officer Next Door program in Rocky Mount. That was a great program that I've been speaking to the town manager on about how can we find landlords in this town that have properties, that maybe have empty properties that a police officer may want to live in at a reduced rate, and then it brings all our police cars and employees living in town.
Yeah.
Because right now, our police officers, they live out of town.
Yeah.
And I want, in a perfect world, Tyler, every police officer in every jurisdiction should live in the same city that they police.
Sure, yeah.
So, but that's not that's not a realistic thing that's going on in society now.
And you just mentioned, being in Rocky Mount. What was your time like there compared to Edenton? That's a much larger community versus Edenton. Sort of like compare and contrast. What was it like coming to a smaller town and taking over versus being over there in Rocky Mount? Well,
the contrast was that Rocky Mount is located right in the middle of I-95, so it's the midpoint from Florida to New York. So you saw everything from drugs to guns to prostitution to gambling. I mean, you name it.
Oh, yeah.
It's in Rocky Mount. Some of the differences was when I came to Edenton, it was a little bit more slower pace. We still had violent crime here,
right?
But it was more of a slower pace. But I do miss the resources.
Yeah.
A lot of our resources, while we have great resources here, they're mostly stationed in Elizabeth City.
Yeah.
While we had resources right there in the city of Rocky Mount that we could touch and tap on, and didn't have to call Elizabeth City, and who was overseeing 7 counties. They was just seeing Nash and Edgecombe County in Rocky Mount.
Yeah.
So that's some of the difference. It's just being able to access more resources to be able to help the homeless. Like one of the biggest things in Rocky Mount, we had a homeless shelter. We don't have one at Edenton. And right now I'm really concerned that if we don't address homelessness now, it's going to get worse here in about 3 to 4 years from now.
Yeah, I agree with you. And what do you think what do you think are some of the steps we could take to address that and work towards that goal to, provide resources for that community that needs it?
I would say I would look at finding the right individual who would be willing, nonprofit that can run it. And I don't know the legalese or how the town could partner with them to make sure. I can tell you that the shelter in Rocky Mount was ran by a church, and they had rules.
Sure.
You could stay there at night. You had to go get a job, or you had to leave during the daytime, and you had to blow into an alcohol sensor. They had a zero drug and alcohol policy. So when you came back at night, you couldn't have any alcohol, or you couldn't be under the influence. Right. And it kept people from being on the streets, holding up signs, and just made the image better in Rocky Mount. And things trickle, and and if we don't address it now, then we're going to be dealing with it later on.
And it's good to be optimistic. It's also good to be realistic, though, and to realize if there is, issues that we need to tackle in the community. And we have wonderful nonprofits and churches here in town. I'm sure there are plenty of partnerships there just waiting to happen. In terms of being out there in the community, we just mentioned, nonprofits and churches. How are we growing the community's presence or the department's presence in the community? I know we just had an event recently at the Boys and Girls Club. I know there are some other ways that we sort of pitch in and help other agencies. I know Corporal Bunch is a member of the Sheriff's Dive Team. Mm-hmm. So there are ways that we give in different sectors of the community. How have we been boosting that?
Well, I'm just getting out here, Tyler. I'm part of my staff are just partnering with like you said, the Boys and Girls Club. We had an event just a couple of years ago or last year at Tyler Run, along with one of the churches, faith-based churches right there in the Old Hereford Road area. Mm-hmm. We're just partnered with the other apartment complex, Wedgwood and Waterford. We're just looking for innovative ways to get out into the community. One of the things that I would love to see going forward here in Edenton is a pastoral alliance. Yeah, that is all the pastors. We have we have great churches right here in our town.
Yeah, we do.
And if we could meet once a month at different churches, all the clergy in Edenton, to sit down and we could, again, at the table, so we can address the needs of the community. And then the pastors can go out and spread that gospel to their congregation. It's not about a particular church. It's about us addressing Edenton in one setting and allowing the pastors to go back and carry that message. And working with our Human Relations Commission, we have a good HRC, and they could be the subject matter experts to go out to the pastors to let them know what the needs are. So, those are some of the things that, again, Tyler, we got to sit at the table and address it. And sometimes we may agree to disagree, but if we're not in the room to have that talk, then everybody's going separate ways, and we're not getting the mission complete.
That's right. And getting out there in the community is one thing, but having people get to know, who protects them, who serves them, who the officers are, that's another. And I know you've recently started your own series about getting to know your officers and getting to know your staff. Chat with the chief. Just briefly tell me about that. How'd that come about?
Well, I wanted to, in the world of social media where things can get out, I really wanted officers to be able to, those citizens to be able to get to know my officers. And I know that my officers ride around, they stop off at Speedway, they walk inside, they check on Food Line, shopping centers, they walk downtown. But those are brief interactions. Right. And no one gets to know Captain Brown. Sure. Where he's from, what he likes to do. So the podcast world is blowing up. I use Shannon Sharp's podcast, Club Shay Shay. Ever since that went viral and everybody started doing podcasts, I said, what about a police podcast? Yeah. What about a podcast that would allow our citizens to get to know our officers? Mm-hmm. So, making contact with you and bouncing the idea off of you. I started up a podcast, and I think it's doing a good job, but it's at least letting our citizens know who our officers are and what they are about. So now the citizens can put a face with a name and understand what they are about and what their hobbies are and what they like to do.
Just getting candid real quick, how does a police chief unwind? I know you're busy probably all the time, running here, everywhere, got a meeting here, a conference here, got work to do here in town. What do you do in your free time?
Well, Tyler, I found my niche, and I love to officiate football and basketball. Again, it's kind of working, but it's one, I love sports because I played college football. Mm-hmm. But two, it is a way for me to get out there and exercise and have fun and then see our kids grow up. I mean, when I was in Rocky Mount just past weekend at the Rock City Classic and the weekend before that at the Big Shots Classic, I saw Edenton kids interacting against Wake County, Greenville, Charlotte kids. Yeah. And our kids, they held their own, Tyler. Oh, yeah. And we have some great athletes here, and it was just good to see our kids in a positive setting doing great things, representing our town. That's right. And sometimes bringing home the goal.
That's right. The youth, that's the next generation right there. We got to lift them up. And we appreciate everything you do, representing Edenton, on the state stage now as the president of the Association of Chiefs of Police. We're doing great work over there at the department. And as always, we appreciate your time, appreciate you coming on. Always a pleasure to talk with you. If anybody wants to follow the Edenton Police Department on social media, all you got to do is go to Facebook, type in Edenton Police Department. It should pop up right there. On Instagram, they are Edenton PD, should be all one word. And on YouTube, you can also find them, Edenton Police Department or Edenton PD, and just look for his ongoing series, Chat with the Chief, and you can get to know some of our officers as he proceeds every other week, and we'll keep going from there. So, Chief, I look forward to the next episode, and as always, this is Spill the Tea. I'm your host, Tyler Newman, signing off.